in that. I mean, I sit on the flop delegate committee with Jeremy, and we had a meeting 2 weeks ago, and it's just great. I mean, if you're interested in DeFi, decentralized finance, I mean, you'll learn more about it in this meeting. And if you figure out this is something that you're interested in, uh, the really special thing about DeFi is that you can actually participate in a governance role in these protocols. It's almost like you have you could almost sit out on the board of Facebook. It's almost like that, where you make decisions on the future of Facebook, whereas in this case you're just making decisions on the future of respective DeFi protocols. So the Uniswap DeFi, governance committee, it's a great way to learn Uniswap, to learn how it works, to learn what people are talking about within the community, what proposals are being discussed. And it's just a great way to really be involved and immersed in the community. And at the end of the day, crypto is all about community. So I just wanted to say that, and really appreciate you guys being here, and also just giving these opportunities to us and our members as well. But with that, I'll pass it on to Tom.
Yeah, no, I'd second that. Absolutely. I think, it's the kind of opportunities in DeFi, this space, are kind of endless, which is, crazy to think of, just because, look at where Bitcoin, Ethereum, all this stuff was just like 4 or 5 years ago. But I think, Josh, I don't know about you, but do you want to just do intros for our clubs and then go into Jeremy, and then so there's more time for questions at the end?
That's perfect. Yeah, feel free. Yeah, you could start off, and then I'll give a brief intro for everyone who doesn't know what we're about.
Yeah. Okay. So BC Blockchain, we're Boston College's blockchain cryptocurrency club. So we're really focused on, just raising awareness about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, DeFi, the value that they create for people, what you can do, what companies, financial institutions are doing with this technology. And then also, this last night we had an event with Ryan Selkis from Masari and Dan Matuszewski from CMS Holdings. So that was really good. We're really focused on getting guest speakers. We're fortunate to have a pretty big alumni community of people in the crypto space at Boston College. But really, during a virtual year, it's a little more challenging because we can't have the fun in-person events. So really, we've been more focused on, bringing in good guest speakers for our students this year, rather than, the in-person meetings that we know and love but miss.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, similar, we're also a young club. We were founded 2018, and we've also been stuck in this virtual world for the past year, which is, it's had its challenges for sure. It's definitely harder to engage students, I find. It's a lot nicer to come together as a group in person. But yeah, we've been running meetings for this past year. We've had guest speakers. We had a reporter from CoinDesk who's a Tufts alum. We've done various workshops, technical workshops. We're having a guest speaker next week, actually, who's going to come talk about more of the social use cases of blockchain. Think like supply chain logistics, for example, and vaccine passports. And you'll hear more about that as next week approaches. But yeah, just looking forward. Similar to Ben, who has their Ben coin, we'd like to build a native token for our club called Jumbo Coin. I feel like creating a token for a club is a great way to align incentives and action, right? We want our members to participate and be engaged in the club, and maybe issuing a Jumbo Coin and rewarding people for good actions is a good way to incentivize those type of good behaviors. So, this is something that we're working on. This is a long-term project. We've had discussions within the club, and I see us taking steps to execute this moving forward in the next few months. And I think, seeing what Ben Coin did with their coin, I'm interested to see how you guys administer this meeting with regards to the Ben Coin. So I'll be looking out for that. But yeah, otherwise, just super excited. And yeah, that's really all I wanted to say. I'll post our Telegram chat in the chat in feature, and yeah, feel free to join our Telegram chat. We talk, feel free to post news, announcements, events, etc. Just a great way for everyone to connect. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say, and I'll pass it off to the Ben team now.
I also, wanted to say, great. I'm so glad to see how the clubs in Boston have kind of continued on. So, for me, I was the president of the MIT Bitcoin Club during the 2017-2018 school year, which was when Tufts started, and that's when Boston College started, and also a lot of other clubs that started at that time. And some of them, are still around. I think you guys are definitely the most active out of the ones that we've seen. So I think that hopefully as stuff starts opening up again, the first things that are going to come back are like smaller in-person meetings. And one of the traditions of Ben Boston has always been having dinners in the different restaurants around Boston, at the very least with like the club leaders and the most active club members, because Boston is a very unique opportunity in terms of blockchain clubs that are very close by, right? And there's a lot of clubs and a lot of universities within such a close distance. So I'm very excited for the future of Ben and the future of the blockchain clubs. And I'm especially for the future of Ben Boston, because there's a lot of unique stuff that Ben Boston can do that other blockchain clubs, don't have the opportunity to. So I'm excited for that. And that's my statement on the matter.
Yeah, I definitely think once we get back in person, it will be, I mean, I'm a senior, so by the time that happens, I probably won't be running the club anymore. But, I think definitely Boston being kind of almost like this East Coast hub, right there with New York for, blockchain. It's great. There's so much innovation in the city. I definitely think, what Ben is doing is really good mission as far as engaging students, and, it's a pretty niche thing. So, connecting students from different universities, I think is pretty important, just like this event. So, I mean, on that note, do we want to hand it off to Jeremy to start a segment?
Yeah, let's stop talking about how great we all are. Let's get Jeremy, get to some education.
Awesome. So I'm going to kick it off. Give me a second so I can share my screen. I'm going to turn off my camera so we could start recording. And yeah, let's get this thing going. So give me one quick second. All right, can everyone see my screen? Awesome.
Yeah.
So great. So what's up, everybody? Welcome to Blockchain Education Network's Introduction to Decentralized Finance. So today's lesson, we'll be comparing traditional financial structures to decentralized and emerging ecosystems, that is decentralized finance. So from there, we'll briefly start shedding some light on some crypto assets, wallet interfaces, decentralized applications that will further be explained in later lessons to come. Okay, so a quick overview. Let's kick off with what is traditional finance. So in a nutshell, banks are primarily these big monoliths, right, that facilitate transactions worldwide, right? So banks have this authority to apply monetary controls, such as accepting and declining deposits and withdrawals, offering lines of credit to businesses, financial institutions, governments, and individuals in the form of loans, right? And they also enabled money transfers while also using monetary controls and limiting the minimum amount of money that is allowed in like checking accounts and savings accounts. And we usually see that in hyperinflation stricken countries like in South America or out in the Middle East. And we'll touch on that point later on in this discussion. So to kind of use an analogy, banks are key authorizers, but also kind of like a lubricant that allows the flow of cash to reach their desired destinations throughout the financial industry and also the world, right? So let alone, what that means is cash is the vehicle, hence this truck, right? So, however, there's a major flaw in the banking practice, right? Which is human discernment and discretion-based policies, right? So both of which are prone to human-related risk like collusion, corruption, mismanagement, and a lot more. And a great example of which is the Great Recession, which we saw almost destroy the equity markets, right? So now the real question here is, what are other challenges caused by centralized banking, right? So a big one is that billions remain unbanked, right? So to provide a certain perspective, the US population stands at about 333 million people, of which 55 million are considered unbanked. So that's about 14% of US households, roughly, right? So on a grander scale, the global population sits at around 7.8 billion people. So 1.7 billion remain unbanked without any access to financial services, any bank account. Literally, they're cash-based people. So with that being said, there's a tremendous lack of financial literacy. 33% of adults worldwide are financially illiterate. So meaning that 3.5 billion adults lack an understanding of basic financial concepts, right? So that goes for risk diversification, as shown here in this chart, numeracy, which is just understanding numbers, inflation, and compound interest, right? Really basic concepts that people universally just don't have the opportunity to understand, right? So globally, almost half the population understands the concept of inflation and numeracy and have a knowledge of risk diversification, which is the lowest for the most advanced economies. So about 64% have a firm understanding of these concepts, while 28% in emerging economies have a similar understanding. Now, the remittance industry, as of 2018, was valued at around $682.6 billion. So it's also expected to reach about 930.4 by roughly 2036. So it's showing an overall growth of around 36.3%. So that's a pretty significant growth rate from now to then, right? So this is also considering the fact that about 2/3 of the remittance market share is occupied by personal transactions. Now, the main issue with the current remittance system is the high transaction fees associated with getting from point A to point B. So it averages about approximately 6.5%, while transfers and settlements usually take 24 to 72 hours with little to no transparency. So you don't know where it is in the stage of the transaction. You just have to rely on your Western Union or your MoneyGram to let you know, hey, the money was sent, and we're going to let you know when the other party will be receiving the money. So it's really inconvenient for individuals that rely on the remittance system, right? So in other words, there's kind of there's a lack of streamlined processing that's creating multiple opportunities for failure. Now, the world's trust towards their governments are literally at all-time lows. And this is based off of the trust barometer, right? So to the point that governments are considered extremely incompetent and unethical all around, while businesses seem to operate both ethically and competently. So in fact, businesses are now expected to fill the void, if you will, left behind by the governments, where about 66% of people feel that their CEOs should take the lead rather than waiting for government assistance, which is actually really interesting because usually it's the other way around. And unfortunately, there's a rise of global inequality, right? So there's no denying that the pandemic profoundly compounded this economic disparity worldwide, right? And the world wealth gap continues to widen as the global 1% continues to amass these exorbitant levels of wealth. And in fact, the world's richest 1%, which are individuals with a net worth of more than $1 million, own approximately 44% of the world's wealth. And to put this in perspective, according to Oxfam, between 2009 and 2018, the number of billionaires it took to equal the wealth of the world's poorest 50% fell from 380 billionaires to just 26. So that's a pretty staggering number. Well, a staggering drop, just to be said. And then in other words, the rich just continues to get richer. And of course, unfortunately, the poor remain poor. Now, this is an interesting one, especially because it's based out of Venezuela. So this is a prime example of the unethicality and distrust and incompetence that's shown with currency manipulation. This can be seen here in Venezuela's Bolivar and further visualized with the Bloomberg's Café con Leche index. So this index allows us to visualize and track the price of 1 cup of coffee at a bakery in eastern Caracas, and that's in Venezuela. So over the past 12 months, we've seen a significant price jump from 90,000 Bolivar at the time to approximately 2.9 million Bolivar just for a cup of coffee, right? So it increased approximately 3,130%. So to kind of put this in perspective for us, it's like saying we go to a Starbucks and we pay $5 for a cup of coffee, regular cup of Joe, right? At the beginning of the year. And then later on in the year, we go back to buy that same exact cup at the same size. Everything is the same. None of the parameters have changed. And we're paying approximately $156 for that same cup of coffee. All right. So that in itself is insane. So that just goes to show incompetent money manipulation. But there's also systemic risk tied to that, right? So simply put, there's a centralized system. You're essentially putting all your eggs in one basket, right? You're relying on this central source of truth, if you will, and you're relying that it will always remain in operation no matter what. So trust is a huge factor in this argument. So what happens if this system fails? Well, everything will go bust, and you'll lose your money, right? And again, the 2008-2009 financial crisis proves this to be the case. However, with the decentralized structure, as seen on the right-hand side, it's the exact opposite. So any participant or client that operates on this network or utilizes a particularly decentralized network doesn't need to rely on one particular entity or authority. It's distributed amongst all participants, or certain nodes, if you will, right? So that leads to the question, what is decentralized finance? Now, DeFi is, I think we could all agree, is leveling this playing field of financial infrastructure by constructing a sustainable monetary system for just about anybody worldwide. And the DeFi community aims to build an interoperable application service that will further improve already inefficient systems, such as what we mentioned, the remittance system, accessibility, centralization, and transparency. So in the DeFi space, we call these services money Legos, which is also composable, right? So they could build on top of each other and further improve the availability of certain financial services, which is actually a really neat thing that's never been seen before in finance. So this could also be done through the 6 primary features as seen here. So we can start with number 1, which is permissionless, a permissionless network. So anyone in the world can connect to the network. Status, location, geography, it doesn't matter. You're not prohibited to be granted access. Now, number 2 is decentralized servers. So all transactions are spread across thousands of computers or nodes instead of just one centralized server. 3 is a trustless transaction. So a centralized authority isn't needed to verify or authenticate transactions. Instead, the trust is put upon the operating protocol and the nodes that facilitate these, that verify these transactions, right? And then that also leads to 4, which is transparency. So all transactions are publicly auditable. So anybody could go on a block scan or an ether scan and see a particular transaction and see when it was executed, see when it was confirmed, and see who received it on the other end. And of course, if you want to throw in privacy features, we could go and start talking about zero knowledge proofs, but that's more of a discussion for later on. 5 is censorship resistance. So no one can invalidate anyone else's transactions, as I stated before. So this solves what's known as the double spend problem, or nobody could do a denial of service attack, which will, in essence, kind of shut down the network for a certain amount of time, right? And 6, it's programmable. So business logic could be now incorporated in a smart contract and programmed, and then now it's interoperable with various financial services that are built on this vast decentralized network at negligible costs, right? I mean, granted, what's going on the Ethereum chain, but all things constant, it's supposed to be extremely low cost. So it's with these key features that we're experiencing this emergence of a new open financial system. So it's actually really exciting, and they're also doing a huge impact worldwide, right? So how so? So let's start off with financial inclusion. So literally anybody that has access to the internet or a smartphone or a tablet or a laptop, any internet connected device will have an opportunity to access financial services, meaning that anyone in third world countries or hyperinflation stricken countries will have access to money, right? So this is literally destroying barriers of entry by status, wealth, geolocations, as we mentioned before. So a good example is people in hyperinflation stricken economies like Venezuela or Zimbabwe or even developing countries, they've seen with Africa and India, now have the same level of access as potentially like a Wall Street trader, right? They could trade assets on decentralized exchanges at little to no cost. Number two is low cost cross-border payments. So cross-border payments are more affordable now more than ever. And we kind of see the opposite end earlier with the remittance system. So it eliminates the need for intermediaries such as money transfer operators such as Western Union, MoneyGram, Walmart, and it significantly lowers the average global advance fee of 6.5% to potentially below 3% or even lower than that. So a good example is in the DeFi system, a Chilean or Syrian immigrant in the US or abroad could inexpensively send money to their loved ones back at home at a more cost-effective price. And three, security and privacy, right? So DeFi thrives in allowing users to have full custody of their assets, hence the private key cryptography, public key cryptography, right? One of the earliest adopters of this is, of course, Bitcoin, with their use of private keys, while also providing a platform to transact with whomever she or he chooses and sees fit. Unlike in the current system, custodial institutions hold your money, like banks or credit unions, right? And it puts people's wealth and information at risk. They essentially sell your data, right? So in a DeFi ecosystem, malicious actors will not be able to access this information because users' wealth and information is stored with your private keys. It's signed with your private keys. So that leads to four censorship resistance transactions. So since majority, if not all transactions are executed and authenticated on a blockchain, they're completely immutable to an extent, removing any ability of a centralized institution or government to interrupt or manipulate any operation that takes place, right? So a good example is Venezuelans that are already adopting Bitcoin and stable coins, such as DAI, to protect their wealth from government manipulation and hyperinflation. And that was seen, that could be closely associated or corresponded with the Café con Leche index, right? We saw the incredible inflation that happened in just a year span, right? And that leads us to five, which is the most efficient part of DeFi, which is plug and play. So majority of decentralized applications are simplistic and extremely easy to use, that offers users the ability to borrow and lend their crypto assets by allowing you to take out loans, collateralized loans or under collateralized loans, as well as earning interest, right? Or even establishing passive forms of income in portfolios that consist of various assets and applications. Hence what we discussed earlier with token sets and the funds and things of that nature. People have access to that now. And with that being said, we would like to provide you with your quote unquote self-custodial bank by helping you create your own MetaMask. So with that being said, that's how I'm going to wrap up this little quick stroll down traditional finance to DeFi. And before we get into the demo, one, I want to thank you for allowing me to present this to you. And two, I'm just going to open it up for any discussion or any Q&A that you guys may have. And then we could go into creating a MetaMask for whoever is interested.
Hello, excuse me. Hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
All right. So, can you repeat what you meant by censorship resistant? Yeah, could you kind of explain that again?
Yeah. So a good example is, say you have a Chase bank, right? And for some reason you do you execute a transaction and Chase deems this transaction suspicious, right? They could halt that transaction and freeze your account and kind of quote unquote investigate this suspicious transaction, right? So that there's censorship to that. Somebody on the other end could, in essence, determine or dictate whether or not this transaction is appropriate, if you will. Now, censorship resistance is the exact opposite. Now you have the freedom or the liberty to execute these transactions without a central authority to kind of halt that or prohibit the transaction to go through, right? So this is a great use case for again, the remittance system, right? Or it could even make the remittance system somewhat redundant to an extent, because now we have a straightforward path of peer-to-peer transactions. So the beauty of censorship resistance is now there's no there's no obstacle that could potentially block a transaction from occurring, unless that potential protocol has a backdoor to start freezing certain transactions. So we could see that with like US dollar coin, right? Because the consortium censure could essentially freeze or blacklist your wallet. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, because that's essentially what censorship resistance is on a basic level.
Yeah, that answers my question. But that brings another thought into my mind, where the reason why a bank might stop a transaction is to avoid fraud. Now, is there a way of protection if it's in a decentralized environment, who holds kind of responsibility for any fraud that might occur? It's all on the user, right?
It's all on the user. Yeah, and I'm sure later on there'll be DAOs or which are decentralized autonomous organizations, or certain protocols that will arise that will provide this oversight, right? Kind of like the financial action task force, right? We'll see certain protocols that will act as these oversight bodies that will assist in fraudulent activities, or I'm sorry, assist in the prevention of fraudulent activities and things of that nature.
Kind of like insurance.
Exactly, kind of like agents. Yeah, and we're starting to see that now. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, Jeremy, do you mind if I add to that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, also just like on regulation, I feel like there's definitely a lot of regulatory uncertainty, right? I mean, you have these these decentralized finance applications that live in a digital vacuum, right? They don't have to abide by certain like jurisdictional law, like Uniswap, a big decentralized exchange. I mean, should that abide by like American law or like European law? I mean, etc. Right? There's a lot of like uncertainty there of how these protocols, who should they be listening to, right? And there's no one to be held accountable in this system as well. There's no, as we alluded to, there's no central authority to to mandate law over this ecosystem. So that's definitely a problem. But I think like the big exchanges are definitely playing a role, like Coinbase, for example, in keeping crypto regulated. I mean, they definitely pass on a lot of your, if you have an account with Coinbase, they definitely pass on that information to the IRS, for example. So that's definitely one way where I think regulators are trying to gain leverage, is through these fiat on-ramps, like big centralized exchanges like Coinbase. But in the decentralized finance world, there's really no leverage for regulators right now. And yeah, that's why, and I think that's honestly a use case for decentralized finance, although it's terrible, but like money laundering, right? There's no need for know your customer and anti-money laundering regulation, right? So it's very easy for nefarious actors to exploit DeFi applications. But yeah, but that's just my 2 cents.
No, exactly. That was extremely well said. So thanks, Josh. And I see that that oh no, Brad is just asking how can he get more involved. Brad, involved in DeFi or involved with Ben exactly?
That was from a while ago. I didn't mean.
Okay.
I was just being from Northeastern. I didn't know how I could get involved in both Tufts and DeFi.
Gotcha. Well, no problem. Well, I hope I could kind of answer that question now, so we could help you create a MetaMask wallet if you don't have one. So with that being said, let's let's kick it off and get into the demo. So let's get everybody to metamask.io. Just click on download. And it doesn't really matter what browser you use. It supports Chrome, Firefox, Brave, and Edge, but Brave and Chrome use Chromium, so it doesn't necessarily matter. See, so you click on install, click on add to Brave, and add to extension. And in just a moment, we're going to see like a little window
Man,
pop
I don't
up.
think you're sharing your screen.
Oh man. Oh geez. All right, hold on. All right, sorry about that.
It's secret.
It's back up.
Yeah, it's a secret. All right, I'll start over again. Thank goodness we're recording, so we can kind of edit that. Cool. I'm sorry. Sorry, everybody. All right, so yeah, let's go to metamask.io, and then we'll just click download. And as I just mentioned, these are the supported browsers, but Brave and Chrome in particular, they use Chromium, so Brave operates almost the same as Chrome. So I'm using Brave, so I'm going to click install MetaMask on Brave, and you're going to click add to Brave here on the right hand corner. But right now I have it. So when you do that, it might not pop up. So you're going to click this puzzle piece, and you'll click pin, and there it's going to be that fox emblem. So I'm going to click on it. It's going to say welcome. Click get started. I'm going to click create a wallet. You want to help them improve MetaMask? You're going to click I agree. I'm going to make a quick password. Click I agree. And then you're going to want to click here to reveal the secret words. So this is your backup phrase, right? So if you ever get a new laptop or a new phone and you want to download the MetaMask app on your phone, this is the phrase that you need to put in to synchronize your account. And if you ever lose it, yeah, good luck. But yeah, don't ever lose this phrase at all. So I'm going to take a quick picture of that, and I'm going to resubmit it. So give me a second. So it's boom, nice, motion, match, gun, west, nose, rack, more. Oh, see, I messed up already. It's rabbit, trim, rabbit, nose, rack, more. All right, perfect. And just like that, you just created your wallet. So now this is the fun part. So now you could start receiving ETH or any ERC20 token that operates on the Ethereum network. So from here on, I'm gonna show you how to add a custom token onto your MetaMask, and then after that, I'm going to show you how to add a custom network and how to add a custom token on the custom network, so you could receive tokens on that network, and that network will be XDAI. So at the end of this demonstration, everybody will send over their MetaMask wallet, and they'll receive at least one Ben coin on the XDAI network. So it's going to be pretty cool. So with that being said, let's go ahead and add a custom token. So you're going to click add token, click add custom token, and you're going to need a token contract address. So I already have, we're going to add Ben coin, right? So if you go on Etherscan, you'll type in Ben coin and it'll automatically pop up here in the search bar. But to save you the time, I'm just going to copy the address and I'm going to drop it here in the call chat. So all you have to do is just copy that contract. Oh, that was a direct message. Everybody here. So everybody could copy that contract, and you're just going to paste it right there. And as you can see, the Ben token symbol pops up, and the decimals of precision also populate as well. So all you have to do is just click next, and it'll show your balance. All right, and this will work. It's the same function or same practice as adding any other ERC20 token. So if you want to add DAI or US dollar coin or anything really, your uni, right? You could do it in that method. So that's how you add a custom token. So now we're going to go ahead and add a custom network. So from there, you're going to click on the top right hand corner and see this drop down menu and click custom RPC, and you have to put in the network, RPC URL, so on and so forth. So I already have that tab open, and I'll drop that here in the chat as well, so everybody can follow along. All right, so from there, we're going to click, like it says, custom RPC, and this is all the information you need. So I'm going to copy that. We want to add the custom. I'm sorry, we're going to add the XDAI network. So XDAI. We're going to copy this RPC link. I'm going to copy the ID. The symbol. And the block explorer URL, which we'll be using in just a moment. And just like that, as you can see here, we've added the XDAI network onto our wallet. All right, so here. So now I'm on XDAI. I have 0 XDAI. And now the question is, how can we add a custom token so I can start receiving Bencoin with this wallet? So we're going to go ahead and go to their block explorer, which is called blockscout.com. And I'll drop that as well in the chat. And we're going to search Ben token. All right, so in the top right hand corner, we're going to go type in Bencoin, excuse me. And there we go. We have Bencoin on XDAI. Click on that, let it populate. There we go. So now all we have to do is copy the contract, same method as we did on the Ethereum network. Click add token, custom token, paste the contract, and click next. See, now I have Ben token on my MetaMask. And now to receive the Ben token, right? All you have to do, you could click copy the clipboard, and then you could send it to whoever's the third party. So give me 1 second, and I'll be sending XDAI to my wallet as well as Bencoin. Give me a second. I'm going to drop it in the chat here. There we go. Oh, we have some questions. Oh. All right, sorry about that. Give me a second. In the meantime, as we wait for this XDAI to get to my wallet, does anybody have any questions as of now on setting up the MetaMask or setting up the custom network or a custom token up to this point?
So someone asked in the chat, what is the purpose of creating an XDAI network? How is this different from other networks already available?
Great question. So as everybody has experienced in some way, shape, or form, the Ethereum network has experienced a significant amount of traffic, right? So with the high traffic, we've started experiencing high network fees or high gas fees, right? So instead of paying what's supposed to be like $5 to $6 worth of gas fees, we're paying $30, $45, $50, even sometimes $200, depending on what exactly that transaction entails, right? So now we have other solutions to kind of fix that problem, which are layer 2, right? Which we see with Loopring, or now we're seeing Optimism, which is another project that protocol that's coming out. And we have side chains like XDAI. So what side chains like XDAI do is that it's not directly on chain, it's parallel to the Ethereum network. So what does that do? It takes off transactions that will cause bloat, right? Will cause congestion on the chain, and allows you to execute transactions at negligible cost, right? So it costs a penny to send, or less than a penny to send the 2,500 Bencoin to my wallet, right? And now that makes things easier to start executing transactions. And then what's neat is that there's bridges that allows us to convert now these X tokens, if you will, to ERC20 tokens that are now compatible with the Ethereum chain. So I hope that answers your question as well. Up here.
So why don't you can show one as a demo, just pick like the first one, and we have the screen caps of the rest of them. So afterwards we'll be able to send them all, throughout the next few hours or so. We should be able to get them all out.
For sure. All right, so I just copied an address. So I'm gonna go to Ben, click send, I'll paste the address, and I wanna send 1 Bencoin. And there's the gas fee associated, and then click confirm. We'll see how fast this transaction takes.
Do you want to also mention the faucet for people that need to get some XDAI on their own?
Well, I'm not going to mention it because it was a bit of a pain. Remember yesterday, me trying to even get it myself. So I would hate to hear somebody go through the endless loop of trying to go through the CAPTCHA and never getting their XDAI. But I mean, for the sake of argument, yeah, there is a faucet that you could get your a free XDAI to start transacting. So I think Eric sent it to me yesterday. Where exactly would I grab that here? Because I've never.
We'll post it in the chat. So basically, if you guys, to make transactions on the XDAI network, you need XDAI, as you saw. That's what I had to send to Jeremy right now. So if you need some, we can send you some. Just like let us know in the chat. That way you can start testing out some other dApps and start interacting with these DeFi protocols. Yeah, just let us know any questions you guys have. You can keep the conversation going in the Ben USA chat, and we'll be there for technical support, or if you guys need for us to spot you some gas.
And then I had a question. Like once you have Ben on the XDAI network, how do you convert that to the main net?
So you can use the bridge. There's a token swap bridge, and with that bridge, you can swap any ERC20 or Ethereum itself between XDAI and main chain. What we'll be doing though is for these flights and Airbnbs for the redemption, we'll be accepting XDAI Bencoin as is, so you don't even need to convert it back to main chain. But if you wanted to, there's the bridge on the XDAI website that you can be swapping them back and forth.
Cool, thanks.
And I would recommend the same for Jumbo Coin. I think that the gas fees are so much cheaper on XDAI to do these like club tokens. If we were doing this on Ethereum mainnet, sending these these tokens to students, it would be like $11 per transaction. We'd have to bunch them up and use like a disperse app. But because we're doing it on XDAI, we can manually send each one individually, one by one, and the gas fees are all super negligible. And the students can send it back to us for redemption, and then it doesn't cost the students significant gas to be able to redeem. I think that's another important thing.
Yeah, so what's interesting is, as you can see, I don't know if anybody's been watching the screen, but I've just been chugging along, just sending 1 Bencoin one after another to everybody's wallets. If this was on the Ethereum chain, as like Eric said, we'll be spending about $9 to $15 per transaction. So how many have I ever done so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5. So say on the high end, it's about $15 just to send a transaction. that's like $75 in total, right? So it's it's pretty convenient. And then, as Eric mentioned, you could use that bridge to kind of convert your tokens back to an ERC20.
So
And
Jeremy,
the whole goal, yeah.
someone asked in the chat, to receive Bencoin, do we need to have Bencoin already?
No. So kind of what we went over before. If you already set up the custom network for XDAI, all you have to do is go to blockscout.com over here, and then go to the top right hand corner and type in Bencoin, and let it load real quick. And then you're going to see the contract. Here it is, the contract right here. And then you'll just add that contract where it says add token to on your MetaMask. Click on add token, click on custom token, and paste that contract where it says contract address, and it'll automatically populate. Once it automatically populates the symbol and the decimals, just click next, and there, now you can receive your XBEN coin, if you will. The neat thing about on the receiving end is that it shares the same ERC20 address or Ethereum address as it does for XDAI, right? So what do I mean by that? So similar to on the Ethereum chain, if it's an ERC20 token, you could use your Ethereum address to receive those tokens, since it's all Ethereum based tokens, right? So they all are associated with that one public key, if that makes any sense. So it's really convenient for the user, instead of having multiple public keys, kind of like on Coinbase or on BlockFi. You have like three addresses for Ethereum, DAI, and USDC, when they're all, where USDC and DAI are both ERC20 tokens, and you have ETH, right? It doesn't make sense. So that's the convenient part of it. So I'm gonna keep chugging along and
Keep sending out that Bencoin.
sending all these Ben coins. And if there's any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat. Antonio, if you catch it, please read them out loud. Or if anybody has anything to talk about, please unmute yourself, speak up, and we'd love to chat.
Yeah, I actually really liked Michael's question. He asked how DeFi can help developing nations to create financial stability if fiat currencies are all directly affected by the dollar. And something really interesting here is the dollar is really a stable currency already in these nations. Like, we have students in Turkey, Africa, and just the fact that they can have DeFi to access dollar-pegged currencies like USDC or USDT, that's already something that's amazing. But now what DeFi brings on is the fact that they can be onboarded to any asset that they want to purchase. It gives them sort of the power of a Wall Street trader, because right now, like, for example, Robinhood is only available to people in the US. Like, you can't buy stocks like Apple or other stocks if you're based in one of these third world countries. So it really democratizes the experience of being part of finance, and all these applications that are being created, like through Uniswap and many other decentralized exchanges. So it's pretty cool.
I just have a question. Oh, sorry.
No, please.
Maybe I misunderstood something, but I heard at some point that you said you were going to spot for gas fees. For what? Because when I asked the question about the Ben coin, if we needed Ben coin in our wallet already to receive it, you said no, we just can have the Ben coin received into our MetaMask. But then what was the issue? What did we need gas for to receive what?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So as you can see here on the screen, right, I'm sending everybody one Ben coin. So in order to facilitate the transaction, we have to pay a transaction fee, right, or a gas fee, right? So on the receiving end, you don't necessarily, well, not necessarily, you don't need any Ben coin or XDAI, if you will. You could receive as many Ben coins as are sent to you. Now, in order for you to send those Ben coins, that's when you need XDAI in your wallet to execute that transaction and then further facilitate it to meet the receiving party, to that receiving party. So I hope that kind of clarifies it. I know it's a bit confusing sometimes, but yeah.
Yes, thank you. That helps a lot. So then these Ben coins are going to go to our MetaMask wallet then, or to our the other one?
Yeah, no, great question again. So I'll kind of backtrack a bit. So when you initially created your MetaMask wallet, it was on the Ethereum chain, on the Ethereum network, right? That's the main chain, no matter what. That's default. Now, what we ended up doing is we added a custom chain in which is XDAI, and now we have interoperability with our wallet to start interacting with the XDAI chain. So when I click on XDAI, right, now I could start receiving XDAI on that network, as well as Ben denominated XDAI tokens, right? And kind of what Eric alluded to earlier is, say you want those Ben coins that you've received on the XDAI network, you could now go to an XDAI network bridge, which is, let's just call it an exchange, and we could swap now these X Ben coin to Ethereum based Ben coin, and now you could use it on the Ethereum chain. So the whole purpose of to answer your question, it's all held in the same wallet, but now you're just interacting with a different network with the same wallet. It's like you have a multi-purpose application that allows you to interact with different financial services, right? So like an app that can interact with, it's like Zelle, right? Zelle, you can interact with JP Morgan Chase, or you can also send money to Wells Fargo, right? Two totally different entities, but you can still interact with them, right? I think that's more of a relatable example, if that makes sense. Anton has a good question. To what extent do you think cryptocurrencies could be used in the future, especially if there are so many different coins? That's a good one. Well, we're starting to see that cryptocurrencies are starting to kind of permeate into the mainstream, right? We're starting to see everybody, Wall Street traders and third world countries, everybody's kind of jumping on board this ecosystem, and it's honestly a really interesting experience thus far, because now we're seeing countries that truly need this financial exposure utilizing it for their benefit, right? A great example is down in Venezuela. Venezuela has gone through huge hyperinflation, and a lot of Venezuelans are using DAI to interact with one another, right? DAI is a stable coin that's based on the Ethereum network, and it's pegged to the dollar. So now they could do peer-to-peer transactions without the reliance on a centralized banking system, right? To the point that the banking system itself has been cracking down on these practices, because it's making the bolivar redundant, as a currency, right? So I see this moving forward as being the go-to digitalization of the traditional financial ecosystem, and we're seeing that now with the emergence of the conversation of central bank digital currencies. So this thing is just getting started in terms of cryptocurrency use case, and I'm really excited to see what's to come.
Yeah, it's also important to mention that a lot of these coins that you see on CoinMarketCap, there's like total of 3,000 cryptocurrencies. A lot of them are experiments, and they will fail. They're not going to be around 10 years, sort of like the .com bubble. And you have like governments like the Venezuelan government that did the petrodollar, and we all can agree that's a failed experiment, but it's still listed there. So it's also very important to be a critical thinker and think like, what is the reason that this coin is created or exists? Because Bitcoin was, like, for example, originally created to be an exchange of value for commerce and so on, and now became a tremendous store of value because that's what is demand for. So each use case will come out in the future, and the long-term game is what is important, because a lot of them are just sort of bubbles in a way that just come in and then they disappear. So
Yeah, exactly. Eric, give me a second. I want to see what's going on. For some reason, you're not receiving. Yeah, now you should have received something in just a moment. Cool. So we're about 18. Awesome. We're about 18 minutes over the time. I don't, in respect for everybody's time here, I'm just gonna open it up for another quick question round, and then we kind of just wrap it up and let everybody kind of toy around with their Bencoin or see what they could do on the XDAI network. So, oh, Tom, okay, let me send you over your Bencoin.
Yeah, no, thanks again for doing this, Jeremy. It's really great information, I think, for just everyone in our club getting an introduction to DeFi. MetaMask, I know I've been using for a while. It's a great wallet. But yeah, I just want to thank you and thank Ben for putting this together. If anyone has any other questions, shoot Jeremy now before we get too late, because it is 9:19. But yeah, I mean, I think this was a great event. I think Josh and I don't want to speak for Josh, but I think, we're definitely interested in doing more of these in the future.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one, I appreciate you guys even giving me the opportunity to do it. And just the one thing I've learned throughout the process is a lot of people enjoy experiential learning. Like, they love the hands-on approach. So yeah, things like demonstrations like this, I mean, you could really go wild in the DeFi space. So I mean, sky's the limit, So again, thank you. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to shoot me a message on Telegram. If you're interested in the Ben Crypto Fund, I believe Antonio dropped the application here in the chat, or if you just PM me on Telegram or shoot me an email, it's Guzman at blockchainedu.org. Just say, hey, Jeremy, I'm interested in participating in the Ben Crypto Fund or in the Ben Uniswap Delegate Committee. Let me know. I'll add you to it, and we'll get you acquainted with everybody in that committee. Or if you just want to talk and shoot about DeFi, we could talk about that too. So yeah, again, thanks everybody for showing up. Thank you, Tom and Josh, for the opportunity, and awesome. Yeah, enjoy your Bencoin.
Yeah, have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.